Hey everyone, an update here on the recent aid drops that have been taking place over the Gaza Strip. Last week, an Indonesian Air Force Hercules C-130 flew over Israel to drop aid into Gaza. It's pretty extraordinary if you think about it, because Indonesia doesn't even recognize Israel formally, and military flights in this corridor almost never happen unless they're Israeli or US. So the question is, why did Israel allow it, and what does Indonesia gain by making this aid drop so visible? Here are the basics as we know it. Tail number A1344 tracked at roughly 17,000 feet, parachuted boxes of aid directly into Gaza. This wasn't covert. Flight trackers and open source intelligence accounts were able to broadcast it live, and it's unsurprising, it follows months, years, if not decades of Indonesian rhetoric positioning itself as the Muslim world's defender of Palestinian rights. And that goes back a long time to the 1980s when Indonesia was one of the first countries to recognize Palestinian statehood. And they've been a big supporter since. But there is a catch here. Aid drops like this are notoriously inefficient. Supplies often scatter, or they get lost, or they end up in the wrong hands like Hamas. Critics have already said this was more an act of symbolism than substance, and they're definitely right in that sense. Indonesia knew, of course, that this aid drop wouldn't solve Gaza's food crisis, but what mattered more perhaps was the signal that it sent, and I think that signal cuts at least two or three ways. To the Palestinians, it's a signal of solidarity. To Israel, on the other hand, it's a signal of defiance in the face of what many countries are seeing as blatant war crimes. But it's also a reminder that Muslim-majority countries far away from the Middle East are willing to step in, even in small ways. And for Indonesia's government, it's also about domestic politics. It's about showing voters at home that their military will stand visibly with Gaza, no matter how symbolic the act. And if we zoom out here, it reflects a broader trend of nations in the West and East either formally recognizing a Palestinian state, or also, as time goes by, the Gaza war seems to be pulling in actors from far away from the battlefield. Indonesia, for one, doesn't have any direct military presence or leverage in the Middle East, but every visible act like this, especially when Israel reluctantly allows it, chips away at that narrative that Gaza is isolated, or that the United States and Israel control the terms of outside engagement with Gaza. And Indonesia is certainly not the only country that's been providing this sort of aid. The Europeans have been doing it as well. But it will be interesting to see how other countries start to step up and take on new roles in either aid delivery, but also political pressure on Israel, which has strengthened its military campaign. And, since this new offensive in Gaza City was announced, there will definitely be a need for more aid drops. So, yes, while this aid is perhaps only a drop in the ocean compared to the needs on the ground, it does signal something broader, that geopolitics isn't just weapons and treaties and borders. It also signals visibility and the ability to negotiate access to another country's airspace to deliver controversial aid. That's it for now. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to Mackinder Insights, and I'll see you soon.